Traders, welcome back to the Trading Psychology Fundamentals series. In today's masterclass, we're going to be talking all about how you can go off and secure $100,000 of funding in 30 days. Now, I'm going to be sharing a very unique perspective in this video. I'm going to be sharing how you can avoid most of the pitfalls traders fall into when going for prop firms. Having been through that myself, having helped many traders go through it, and having my own prop firm now, I'm going to offer a very unique perspective on this. And then we're going to talk about going beyond prop firms and how you can utilize what you've built with prop firms to build an even more stable and secure and long-term set of funding for yourself so that you're not vulnerable to situations like what's happened recently with MyForexFunds, etc., etc. I'm going to be sharing a lot of key insights from my very unique journey. I'm going to be sharing some unique perspectives from my own experiences, from all those traders I've helped accomplish this goal, and also from running a prop firm as well, the internal structurings and all that type of stuff. So I'm really excited to dive into this masterclass because I know each and every single one of you is going to get an enormous amount of value. So without further ado, let's get into this masterclass. Securing $100,000 in funding in 30 days. And at the end of the video, make sure you stick around to the end. I'm going to set a very unique challenge. I'm going to offer a few key insights that nobody's talking about in this industry, which are going to help give you the advantage. Now, the big problem we're addressing with this video is that most traders do funding wrong. Most traders fall into one of the few pitfalls I'm going to share, and we're going to elaborate on those throughout the video. And just by having an awareness of each of these gives you the advantage to not only secure funding, but also to sustain that in the long run and actually continuously get payouts from the funding companies. Because securing funding is one thing, but I want to ensure that each and every single one of you has long-term success and longevity with payouts as well. So most traders are unprepared for the realities of funding. They're pursuing some sort of fantasy, some sort of idea that I'm going to get all this free money and life's going to be great, and this one-sided idea of funding. But the reality is that funding and prop firms have two sides to them. They've got advantages, yes, but they've also got challenges, disadvantages, and risks that you need to be aware of and prepared for, like I'm going to be breaking down in this particular video. And I think the recent saga with MyForexFunds has opened traders' minds and humbled some of the opinions of traders to realize that, you know what, funding companies and prop firms are great, but there are also risks and there are disservices that you need to be aware of and you need to have planned and prepared for. And I'm of the opinion that prop firms are still some of the greatest ways to build up your trading accounts and transition into more of a secure approach. So you want to be utilizing prop firms, but you want to be aware of these few risks and disadvantages and be prepared for them. Traders are also rushing the process. I've put in brackets here if they even have one. So some traders are so caught in this whole idea of being a funded trader, all the money they're going to make from it, that they throw all their processes out the window. And because they've got this carrot dangling in front of them, all of a sudden their processes just, they have no stickability to their processes. They're rushing things. They're forcing things. Some traders don't even have the proper processes in place. So throughout this masterclass, I'm going to be sharing the exact things that you need to be doing and the exact things that you need to have in place and the exact things that I've helped my students put in place to get now more than $5 million worth of funding cumulatively throughout my students. I'm going to show you exactly what I suggest they do so you're not doing more or doing less of what you need to be able to get funded in 30 days. Another big problem that traders are facing is they let the funding challenges impact their ability to trade or just how they go off and trade. For example, if they're in a prop firm challenge, sometimes these traders over risk or overtrade, take too many setups or force low quality setups because they have to meet a certain limit in a certain time. Or there are other sort of psychological things where they want to have this amount of funding by this date, or they want to have this amount of money by this date. And they're forcing things and they're rushing the process and they let the funding challenge impact the way they go off and trade. We're going to be talking about this. Some traders get caught in this cycle of losing challenges over and over. And I know when I was a consultant for a big prop firm that you've all heard about, there was this one trader there. I wasn't his performance coach, but there was one trader in there that lost 50 challenges over and over and over and over. And it became a bit of a gambling addiction So please don't be that individual who gets caught in this whole idea of I failed a challenge. Because of the failure, feeling like crap after it. You then set this whole fantasy in your mind of being a very successful trader, and you go for it again. If you find yourself failing more than 1 or 2 challenges in a row, what I would be doing is I'd be taking a step back, reevaluating, putting new things in place, and then going again, trying things again. Because you don't want to be caught trying the same things over and over that don't work and keep failing. So don't get caught in that trap. It's a big one. Now, another component here is that some traders do get funded. They end up passing a funding challenge, which is great. What an achievement. But then they end up losing it. They end up giving it back. Or they're vulnerable to certain situations like with the recent MyForexFunds where they've put all their funding accounts with one company and they end up losing it because of random and crazy situations like what's happened recently. So some traders don't have a bulletproof funding plan. And we're going to be covering each of these challenges directly or indirectly in this masterclass. And at the end, I'm going to be giving you the bulletproof funding plan so that when you do use prop firms to scale up, you're not vulnerable to any of these situations happening again. You know exactly what to do. And you know exactly how to utilize prop firms in your journey to transition to becoming the type of trader you want to become. Because I personally believe, and even for students who come through my private prop firm, I encourage them to follow this bulletproof funding plan and to utilize prop firms wisely because it's such a great structure now, but also to be building what I'm going to be sharing with you at the end. Okay, so let's dive into it. Now, the solution here is I want you to follow these 4 steps. Now, I call these the 4 steps to consistent profitability. And these are also the 4 steps to getting funded and scaling funding and being consistent with your funding. Okay. Step number 1 is you need to truly have an edge. Okay. Many traders, when I say, do you have an edge? They say, yes, I have an edge. I've back tested it. It's profitable. And then when they go and trade the real life market, somehow they can't replicate their back tested results with their real life results. So in that situation, you don't truly have an edge. So what I encourage traders to do is I want to ask you right now, are you certain you truly have an edge? And if your answer is anything but yes, I am certain, with complete certainty, with no hesitation, then you're not certain you truly have an edge. What you want to be doing is you want to be, yes, backtesting, let's say, for example, the last 12 months of data for each of the pairs you trade or each of the stocks you trade or each of the cryptos you trade. And then you want to be going sporadically throughout different market conditions, going back through anomalies in the market, going back through very choppy markets, going back through very trending markets to have a look at different market conditions and test 3-month periods in those different market conditions to see how your strategy performs in those situations. Because sometimes a strategy performs well in one situation, then it doesn't perform well in a different situation, a different market condition. Now, the last little component to this is I also encourage traders to, now that you're clear that your strategy plays out in multiple different market conditions, flip a switch in your head and go back and try and disprove your strategy. Sometimes with confirmation bias, a lot of traders get caught up in this idea of, yep, my strategy worked here, 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 here. And we block out any times when the strategy was vulnerable to certain market conditions or it didn't work or there would have been slippage or there would have been a big loss here. So what you want to be doing is you want to be completely switching a light switch in your head or a switch in your head and going and being a devil's advocate and trying to find reasons your strategy does not work. Go and find where you would have taken a loss or where you would have had a period of non-trading or a string of losses, and go into the market with a completely different switch in your head to disprove your strategy. So initially you're finding reasons your strategy does work. The second time you're going back and finding reasons your strategy doesn't work. And then you want to find out the vulnerabilities of your strategy, and you want to put processes and plans to mitigate these types of situations. So for example, if you know after you did your second round of back testing that your strategy performs very poorly in a choppy or a range-bound market, you then can put processes in place to not trade range-bound markets or to trade half risk in range-bound markets, so that in those type of situations you're mitigating risk, but you know the data shows that this is what's happening. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So you want to test both sides of your strategy and then put processes and plans in place to mitigate whenever your strategy doesn't perform well. And then after that, then you can have quite a high level of certainty that you're truly performing on an edge, because you know when your edge performs, you also know when your edge doesn't perform, you've put processes in place to mitigate that. Now, the next step here is you need to have and create a mechanical trading plan. You need to know at each step of the trading process what you're doing. What are you looking for in the higher time frames? Once that's present on the higher time frames, what are you looking for in the lower time frames? What are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entry criteria you're looking for before you put risk on the market? How much are you risking? Where are you putting your stop loss initially? Are you trailing to break even? If so, when? Are you taking profits? If so, when? Are you trailing your stop to lock in profits? If so, when? And you need to be extremely clear on each component of the trading process, and it needs to be in a mechanical plan. Why? Because in order to have consistent profitability, you need to be consistently executing on your edge. If you just come to the market and trade based on how you feel that day, then you're not going to have any consistency in your execution, therefore no consistency in your results. You need to have a trading plan that clearly lays out and tells you what to do in the market so that you can have a level of consistency to your execution and as a result, consistency in your results. So step number 1, truly have an edge. Step number 2, put it into a mechanical trading plan. You have to have these components before you go for a funding challenge, because you need to be mechanical in the way you do things. And in order to pass funding challenges, and definitely in order to sustain and continuously get payouts of funding challenges, you need to have a level of consistency in your execution of edge. This is why I encourage these two things. Now, once you're certain you have an edge, once you're certain you have a clear mechanical trading plan, you need to now have the mindset that allows you to consistently execute on the system regardless of the outcome. Okay? You need to be free of expectations. You need to be free of ideas of what you think is going to happen next in the market. Because here's the thing. If you're sitting watching the charts and you get this whole idea of how much money I'm going to make on this individual trade, or this is the trade that's going to help me pass my funding challenge, or this is the trade that's going to help me get recognition or a car or a $10,000 payday, whatever it may be. If you're creating ideas in your head of what you think is going to happen next, then you're not listening to the market. You're not present with the market. And you're going to let your decisions be run based on what you've created in your own mind and created in the virtual market, as opposed to what the market's actually communicating to you. So this is the number one reason why I've seen traders trip up and not get funded. And this is the number one reason why traders are influenced by their funding challenges and they don't trade the way they normally trade when in funding challenges. Because they're infatuated with the outcome and they create all these ideas in their mind and they let that influence their decision making. So I've created this free tool. It's called the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool to help traders stop doing that. It's a tool that helps you become aware of your expectations before you take a trade, to ensure that you identify them, and then there's a line of questioning in that tool to help you ground those expectations so you can go into that trade, especially the trades when you're in a funding challenge, go into those trades ensuring that they're truly in alignment with your trading plan, truly in alignment with your edge, and they're truly going to be decisions that are going to move you one step closer to that funding challenge. So one of the biggest things you can do in order to get funding and to continue to scale that is to download that tool and to use it before every single trade you take. So that's what I want you guys to do right now. Go into the first link in the description, download that tool. All you need to do is put your first name and your email. That tool will get emailed through to you. And after this video, I want you to watch the 2 videos I've provided with that free Bulletproof Your Mindset tool and start using that. It's going to walk you through how to use the tool. Start using that before every single trade you take. And watch your decision making go through the roof. Watch your consistency go through the roof. Watch your ability to go off and get funded increase, because now you're making decisions that are in alignment with your edge, not based on what you think is going to happen. Okay? Now that tool is completely free, so go on and use that before every trade you take. Now the final step, the 4th step to consistent profitability, is you need to go for a funding challenge that makes sense for your system. And you also need to be implementing step 1, 2, and 3 consistently, or mainly 2 and 3, where every single day you show up, you look at your trading plan, and you make process-based decisions utilizing the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool, ensuring that you're taking trades in alignment with your trading plan. And when you continuously do 2 and 3 over and over and over, eventually you're going to yield consistent profitability. Eventually you're going to pass the funding challenge. So make sure you're going for a funding challenge. Now, a lot of the funding companies now have no time limit challenges, which is great. So I'd encourage you to make sure you're going for a no time limit challenge where you're not influenced by time. The time component has impacted traders quite significantly, rushing them in their decision making. So make sure you're going for a funding challenge that doesn't have any time component to it, and you're just focusing on step 2 and 3, reading your trading plan, and then utilizing the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool to ensure you're sticking to your trading plan and making process-based decisions in the market over and over and over. Now, there's another component to this. We've all experienced and we've all seen the effects of the recent MyForexFunds situation. Maybe not recent, a couple months ago. And I remember waking up to many students, many clients who had lost max allocation of MyForexFunds. And it's not a situation that any trader wants to be in. And it's not a situation that anybody wants to find themselves in, especially when they've worked so incredibly hard to build up to the point they have of doing so well. Okay? So what I'm suggesting here is you implement this as well as implementing the previous steps to get funding. When you start to build your funding, you implement this particular procedure, what I call the Bulletproof Your Prop Firms. You want to protect yourself from prop firms. And the way you do this is understanding first and foremost that every reward contains risks. So too, every risk contains rewards, but there's no such thing as free money. There's no such thing as a one-sided event in your life, in the markets, etc., etc. You may be consciously aware of one side, but the other side's lingering. It's there. So you want to understand that every reward, such as a prop firm that seems like it's free money, a $300,000 account, for example, there are true risks with that. And the risk of taking on money like that is something like the MyForexFunds situation can happen, and it can happen again. So you want to be prepared for this. Prop firms, in my opinion, are still the best option to build capital quick, but make sure you're doing this. Diversify your prop firms. What I encourage every single one of you to do is to not only have one prop firm under your belt, one account for one prop firm or 3 accounts for one prop firm. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. You want to diversify. You want to have one prop firm from 3 or 4 or 5 different prop firms. One account from 3 to 5 different prop firms. Okay? And what you want to be doing is, like I'm going to talk about in the next part here, and the challenge I'm going to set for each of you, is you want to start with one, build up with that, and then use the payouts to build up with the next prop firm, so on and so forth, until you have accounts for multiple different prop firms. Now, you may want to do a little bit of research into the prop firm and understand where they're regulated, understand what country they're in, understand what regulations they fall under, so that you can diversify across not only different prop firms, but different locations and different regulations. Okay? Now, what you want to be doing is utilizing initially the prop firms' payouts from the prop firms to build up multiple accounts with multiple different prop firms. And then once you have that base established, maybe one account with 3 different prop firms, you then want to be utilizing the payouts to start building personal accounts. Start getting payouts, building personal accounts. So you're not only diversified within prop firms, but you're also diversified now. You've got cash outside of that with a separate broker with a personal account. And then you can take that one step further later down the track. And then once you have a track record, you can start looking at private investment and direct investment and stuff like that. But what you're doing is you're starting small and you're diversifying multiple prop firms, personal accounts, private investment, etc., etc. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I want to set this particular challenge for each and every single one of you. And this challenge is going to be around securing $100,000 in funding in the next 30 days. The way you do that is by utilizing the 4 steps I've talked about to get funding. So implement all 4 steps to consistent profitability. Be certain in your edge. Build a mechanical trading plan. Use the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool before every trade to ensure you're process-based. And repeat step 2 and 3 over and over on a prop firm that resonates with your rules and with your account. Okay, make sure you're going for no time limit prop firms so you don't have that time pressure. Now, what I want each and every single one of you to do is to secure a $100,000 account in the next 30 days. If you adhere to the 4 steps of consistent profitability as I outlined them, that's not going to be an issue. And then once you secure your first $100,000 in funding and get a first payout, use that first payout to secure your next $100,000 account with a different prop firm. And then repeat that again and again until you maybe have 3 to 4 to 5 prop firms, accounts with different prop firms, different regulations, different countries, and you've maybe got $500,000 of funding in there, $500,000 US in funding. Okay. And then what you're going to start to do is you're going to start to use the payouts you're getting from the $500,000 of diversified prop firms, and you're funneling the payouts into a private account so that you're building your own personal private account with that. And now all of a sudden you're diversified. You have multiple different prop firms with multiple different regulations, and you're not vulnerable to one or the other. If you lose one, okay, it may suck. You're down 100K on an account, but you can then just build up with another account. The prop firms are so accessible to the consumer, and there's so much competition. So challenges and all that type of stuff are only becoming better and better for the consumer. Take full advantage of them, but do it wisely. Diversify. Use payouts to build personal accounts, and then continue to use that to build a track record. And then you can eventually show investors later down the track, look at my track record on $500,000. Imagine what we could do together on $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. Okay? That's how I encourage my students approach it. That's how I encourage each and every single one of you to approach it. Make sure you go in there and implement the 4 steps. Download that free Bulletproof Your Mindset tool. It's going to be a game changer. And yeah, hopefully you got some insights from this particular video. If you did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with those you know will get value from it, and in your trading communities, etc., etc. I appreciate each and every single one of you watching to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.